The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
All right, welcome to Armed Alabama with Judge Rusty Johnston and Adam Strange. So glad you could join us tonight. We are locked and loaded to bring you the best show possible tonight. We've got a lot of things we're going to get to, and just sit back, relax, and listen to a good show. Of course, you probably heard already about.
Don't forget to call in, though.
Yeah, absolutely. You can call in at 251-343-0106, or you can text to 251-343-0106. And, of course, you can check us out, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. Twitter account is Armed Alabama 106.5. And, of course, our website is armedalabama.com, and we also have a YouTube channel that the judge does a good job on, and that YouTube channel is Armed Alabama. So if you get a chance, be sure and check us out. And tonight's show, we're going to talk about self-defense, firearm and ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, training, range etiquette, and, of course, the law. Alabama and some Mississippi. We found out we've got a lot of Mississippi listeners, so the judge really gives a good exhortation on that. But if you haven't heard, there's been a suicide bomber attack. 3 suicide bombers have attacked the Istanbul airport. Right now, as of this time, the count is 50 dead and is 60-plus injured at the international terminal. And it is the 11th busiest airport, and, of course, that's Istanbul, Turkey.
And we prefer text, actually, because when you text your message to us, it actually cuts on your remote camera in your phone, and we can see you. So we'd like to have text. And one of the things we want to talk about tonight is the shooting that we had in Mobile that some community organizers are trying to exploit for whatever gains. We've got the law on that. We've got a lot of the facts, and we're ready to talk about that because I frankly think it's disgraceful, and I think it's disgraceful that the mayor has met with representatives of the New Black Panther Party. Those are the people, if you remember, in 2008, stood outside a polling place in Philadelphia with nightsticks and in paramilitary uniform and wouldn't let anyone who was going to vote against Obama vote. And then also he met with representatives of the Nation of Islam. That's the Farrakhan bunch, the former Calypso singer. They're so bad that even the Southern Poverty Rights Center says that they're a hate group. So a hate group says another group's a hate group. So it's just amazing to me that all these folks don't let the system play itself out instead of threatening. I took a statement by Barbara Drummond to be a threat of disorder. I think the quote was, "We don't want something bad to happen this summer." And I don't think she was talking about a Cat 5 hurricane. I think she was talking about if this doesn't come out our way, we'd hate to see a Ferguson. And
Agreed.
We just need the normal process that they go through, no matter who is involved.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. Either way, why make it worse?
Right. Absolutely right. And by the way, if you're everybody seems to be on Facebook. If you are on Facebook and you're interested, we've got a I guess they call it a users group. It's called Harold Hurst Presumed Innocent. And you can go and ask to join, and you'll be approved. And I think we've got close to 1,000 people that are members of that group.
Yes, that accumulated really quick. And, of course, there's a lot of good information that's being posted on that as well. So, Judge, we already discussed about how much we've got to put on our show tonight. Just some quick things. There's lots going on right now. One of the things I didn't really hear a lot about was the Supreme Court ruling. There's been several Supreme Court rulings that come out, but one that came out yesterday was the Supreme Court rules on domestic abusers can lose their gun ownership rights. So if anybody's been convicted of domestic violence or pled guilty to that and been convicted, you lose your right to own a firearm, and that is a misdemeanor.
Right. And what that is, and we've had some calls about that in the past. Yes, we've
talked about it in the past, yes.
That's the Lautenberg Amendment that is commonly called. And the only proviso in it is you have to have been represented by an attorney during the process. But a lot of people, it was retroactive. A lot of people just pled down to a misdemeanor because they wouldn't have to go to jail. They could just get out of there. And it wasn't even a crime, wasn't even involved in the process, then losing your gun rights. Then they made it retroactive, and some people lost their jobs.
Yes,
it's just ridiculous.
I mean, at first blush, I mean, it sounds reasonable. It's like, well, if you're violent and you're going to commit that kind of abuse, man or woman, then should you be able to own a firearm? But the thing there is that it's a misdemeanor, right, not a felony, but a misdemeanor that's trumping your right to own a firearm.
I'd like to see some statistics that show a correlation between that, or connection between that because people are violent in the household, that they're more likely to use a gun against someone. If that's true, then okay, possibly.
And I've also spoken to numerous military recruiters, and these recruiters say that is the number one reason why, if they sign somebody up that gets rejected to go into the military service, because of that. Just like you stated before, they get into court, they feel pressured, they're nervous, they're scared, they're not familiar with the process, and they go ahead and plead guilty to this.
Got some mean judge threatening them with jail or whatever, and then that the thing goes down. And
yes,
it can involve just a bad argument, and not hitting someone necessarily.
And you'd be surprised, Judge, how many people do not realize that this misdemeanor, which is not a felony, but a misdemeanor, can keep you from owning a firearm.
That's a political crime they invented there.
Yes, and the Supreme Court ruling was 6-2 vote that domestic abusers convicted of misdemeanors can be barred from owning firearms. The majority opinion, written by Justice Helen Kagan, concludes that misdemeanor assault convictions for domestic violence are sufficient to invoke a federal ban on firearms possession.
In the real world, she would never be on the Supreme Court. That's why I'm actually starting a movement that says go back to the Articles of Confederation, less government, less cost, more freedom. They didn't have a federal court system under the Articles of Confederation. They also had recall of congressmen. So there were a lot of pluses, and the propaganda that was used to get rid of it was just incredible. But we can go into that another time. It's very interesting how they did that. Basically, illegally got rid of the articles and adopted the Constitution. But looks like the clock is signaling us. It's about time for a break.
Yeah, so if you want to get on the air, you can call in at 251-343-0106, or you can text us at the same number, 251-343-0106. Still got a lot more to go on Armed Alabama.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at REMAX Partners 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline. When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. And I don't like it any more than you, man.
All right, that's from Cool Hand Luke, and this is Judge Rusty Johnston welcoming you back to Armed Alabama. Remember, you want to call or text in to 251-343-0106, and while this station has excellent quality because it's FM, if you're out on the edges, you can go to the website, which is www.fmtalk1065.com, and you can listen through the internet to the broadcast.
Yeah, and you can listen at your leisure.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you miss
On
our
our
show,
archives,
you can go to our website and listen to it tomorrow or the next day. You can listen to it at your leisure.
Right. I think we've got a caller, and we have Scott on the line.
Hi, Scott. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
Yes, sir.
What you got, Scott?
I was just asking that if you were to get into some type of domestic thing or something and maybe lose your gun rights and they seize your guns, would you be able to, maybe one of your family members, be able to reclaim the guns and sell the guns?
That is a good question, and I just read a appellate court case on that, and this was a guy who I think he was a police officer, but he had like $100,000 gun collection. They wouldn't let it go to his relative, but they allowed him to arrange for it to be them to be sold by a third party not connected with him.
Okay.
So that'd be the way to handle it.
Yes, I was just curious about that. I mean, my gun rights are fine. I was just curious.
Well, it's not fine with me, but I know what you're saying.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
All right. We have the ad man next in line. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Judge. I have two questions. First one is a legal question. If you say pled guilty to a plea bargain to domestic violence, say back in 1980, and this legislation has come into, where you have to surrender your gun rights, wouldn't that be, if you went back and charged somebody, wouldn't that be, number one, ex post facto?
You would think, wouldn't you?
And the other thing is, wouldn't it be a violation of due process because you pled to something not knowing what the consequences were?
In my opinion, yes. But the Supreme Court has just said no. I mean, I think you're right on. I was going to say spot on, but that's too much of an end term. But absolutely, I think you're correct. And when I heard about when it first passed, I thought they cannot do that. But now, the one consolation that a lot of people have is that they didn't have a lawyer, that they did it in some city court somewhere. And if you didn't have a lawyer, then that can't be done. But, yeah, it seems the very definition of an ex post facto law.
And a violation of due process because they're just declaring you, or according to, what is it, Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, you can't just pronounce somebody guilty of a crime without giving them due process.
Well, they've done it in other cases. For instance, sex offenders who have been sentenced to, let's say, 10 years in the penitentiary, then several states have passed laws saying, well, you know what, we're going to civilly commit you in perpetuity near the end of your term. That wasn't available when they were first sentenced, and the Supreme Court's upheld that. Now, see, none of us sympathize with sex offenders, so we kind of think that's okay, but it's another example of the same thing happening.
Now, the other question I had, I've been thinking about this. I've been listening to you, and I want to compliment you on your program. I find it to be very informative, very factual, very enlightening.
Well, let me be the first to break it to you. 1 week from today, we're 2 hours. That'll be from 5 after 6 or 6 after 6, whenever it starts, till 7:59. So we'll go from 6 to 8, basically.
Well, yeah, my next question was, you guys have a training too, I understand.
We do, and we're just trying to figure out our next date. I think we're looking at perhaps July 16th, but that's not set in stone.
Well, my question was, I would like to contribute money to have members of the media, these reporters who don't know the difference in an AR-15 and an assault rifle, and don't know what the difference in point-blank range and that's a good idea. Maybe what we'll let you do is contribute the refreshments, and we'll have kind of a media day, because I agree with you. It is incredible the ignorance that there is out there. If I hear clip one more time when we're talking about magazines, I'm right. Just going to have a stroke. Or automatic, and at the national level, a lot of it's done deliberately. Locally, it's just ignorance, really, because during trials regarding gun crimes, I had lawyers saying the wrong terms, which was ridiculous. Absolutely.
But that's a great idea.
Okay. I'll get in contact with you.
Yes,
sure.
You can email us from our website. You can email the judge. It'll be the judge at Armed Alabama, or myself, Adam at Armed Alabama. So we'll be glad to hear from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion.
Thanks for the call. And Dustin, welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you called in.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I had a quick question for the judge.
Yeah.
I own about 3 acres over here off of Three Knights Road, and for the past 2 years on the hunting season, there has been a person or maybe 2 people that's been poaching at night on our property. I have went through the steps, and I've contacted Mobile Police Department with some other concerned neighbors, because these people are coming and firing their guns near our house.
Good grief.
If we decide to approach them, and he or whoever points their guns at us, would that be Alabama stand your ground to defend ourselves? Or how does that work?
Pointing a gun at someone is almost per se them threatening the imminent use of deadly force at you. And you've got the right to then use up to and including deadly force against them. But let me give you a hint. What's a lot easier? Why don't you buy a couple of those field cameras that are remotely activated and plant them around the property and try to get some pictures of them first?
Yeah. That was the same thing that one of the officers had suggested to us.
Because the game wardens hate to do what you're doing. It's real volatile. So that's what I'd try first.
Yeah, and then also, too, another question, if somebody comes and gets hurt on my property and we have, no trespassing signs and all the appropriated steps.
Unless it's a trap you've made, you have no liability unless you've made a trap for them, or something like that. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, well, thank you guys, and thank you so much for your service, Judge John.
Thank you so much, and good question.
Thank you, Dustin. All right, next caller, Joe. Joe, welcome to Armed Alabama.
Hey there, it's old Joe Abdullah.
All right, Joe.
I have a question for you there. Don't you think they should wait until all the evidence in before they prejudge this case on that shooting where the police did the shoot? Don't you think people should wait till all the evidence in before they take sides and so forth?
Well, yeah. I mean, people have the right to their own opinion, first of all. I mean, we don't want to take that from them. But see, there are three things really going on. There's an administrative action going on through the police department. Hey, should this guy be disciplined? Did he do something wrong, and should he lose his job, the police officer? Then they're also doing the legwork partially for the district attorney, who's got their own investigation. Has a crime taken place? And then we've got separately the FBI doing, which is another grounds, a civil rights violation. But generally, I think you're right.
Okay,
the average citizen,
I understand all that.
Yeah.
But seems like to me what you're doing is the same thing the demonstrators are doing. You jumping on the bandwagon supporting the police officer without knowing all the facts, and going out selling T-shirts supporting the police officer without knowing all the facts. And like the citizens didn't have, like that young man, they had a right to his self-preservation.
Well, let me tell you, I haven't talked to the mayor, the police chief, or an investigator giving them my opinion because I really don't have one.
Because you supporting the police officer without all the facts.
No, I'm not.
Advocacy of going out selling T-shirts in support of the police officer.
I'm not selling. Joe? Did you say I was selling T-shirts?
So you criticizing the demonstrators, and you're doing the same thing.
Well, the demonstrators are down at the city hall pressuring the officials to indict the man. I'm saying he's presumed innocent. Let the system run its course. Like I say, I haven't talked to anybody in authority telling them what my opinion is. They have. They're having secret meetings with the mayor and officials giving them their opinion. And that's what's wrong. You and I both have a free speech right, and as long as we're not getting involved in the chain of command, that's not a problem.
I mean, well, none of those people. If he's trying to get the city on the right track, I support his effort.
Well, I'm not sure what that really means, but all we're doing is to make sure that people don't pressure the city into doing a speedy investigation and to go ahead and get this over with because people are threatening violence against the city. And that's not right.
My point is, you was a judge, right?
Right.
You used to be a judge.
Right.
I would have hated to have to come before you because seeing like to me, you're biased toward the police.
You know what? It's funny you say that because the number one complaint against me was I was biased against the police. But thank you for your call. We got to step into a break. Appreciate your listening.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, it was amazing how many people said, you're biased against the police. And I'd say, well, occasionally somebody would say you're biased for the police. And when they say it both sides, it looks like maybe you're in the middle.
And that's good. All right. We'll be back after this commercial. We're Armed Alabama.
That I'm singing be a warning. When you're running down our country, man, you're walking on the fighting side of me. You're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down a way of life, our fighting men have fought and died to keep.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
Expect scattered thunderstorms tonight. Low temperatures will be in the lower 70s at daybreak. For Wednesday, mostly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms, highs in the upper 80s. And the outlook for Thursday, mostly sunny with a few thunderstorms, highs will be in the lower 90s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
Mobile County Sheriff's investigators say an argument between friends ended in murder. Hello, everyone. I'm Mel Showers, News 5 for FM Talk 106.5. 65-year-old Dwayne Massengale was killed, and his 50-year-old wife, Veronica, was wounded at their home on Highway 43 in Bucks. 58-year-old Aubrey Allen Rawson was arrested and charged with murder and attempted murder. A huge explosion at a natural gas plant sends flames shooting into the night sky near Pascagoula at Enterprise Products. Fire investigators say only 2 people were on duty, and fortunately there were no injuries. A woman who traveled to Haiti and contracted Zika has given birth to the first Florida-born baby with microcephaly. The mother, a citizen of Haiti, was infected with the virus outside the U.S. and came to Florida to give birth. I'm Mel Showers, News 5 for FM Talk 106.5.
Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org. When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time.
Jack Green is here to talk to you about saving money on your insurance. Jack, where are you?
I'm on the roof.
Jack, I know you can save people money in a single bound, but you're taking this too far. Rick, this is dangerous. Where is he going?
Where no insurance agency has gone before.
The emergency room? Jack, come down immediately.
Okay, be down in a minute.
Rick, I was talking with someone just the other day who was telling me how their insurance rates have continued to go up every year. I told her she needed to call Jack Green Insurance and compare.
It's always smart to look at your insurance every year. Typically, insurance companies will just keep sending out the renewals, and the rate just keeps creeping up. Pretty soon, it's all over you. We offer business, commercial general liability. We do workers' comp, auto, homeowners.
Well, Jack, I see you've decided to join us. You've missed the entire commercial. What took you so long?
I got my cape stuck in the door again.
Super Jack needs to stay inside from now on.
Wait a minute.
The Jack Green Insurance Agency in Mobile, 344-5393.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Now remember, when things look bad, and it looks like you're not going to make it, then you got to get mean. I mean plumb mad dog mean. Because if you lose your head and you give up, then you neither live nor win. That's just the way it is.
All right, we're back in this Armed Alabama, and we're locked and loaded to bring you the best show possible, and we've had a lot of good calls already. The next caller we have is Cecil. Cecil, welcome to Armed Alabama.
Thank you very much. I'm offended for you as far as Joe went, because I know personally that you're assisting in helping me gather information to help a black man regain his Second Amendment rights in a legal manner. Right.
They're just, you can't please everybody. You know, I learned that pretty quick in court. I had a couple of black defendants that I felt like were being mistreated. They weren't being pardoned or paroled, at the right time. So, you know, it's it's easier to be fair than you realize. You know, and you certainly don't have time to start being unfair based on somebody's race. I mean, that's just silly. But you know, people get locked into their point of view, and what the point I was trying to make is, hey, it's okay, you, me, people down the street to have an opinion. But when people start trying to influence, it's like influencing a judge on what his decision it should be, or influencing a jury. That's that's the line you don't step across. And that's what I see kind of happening right now. I was looking at, I've got a whole library of things. Some of them I acquired when I was court police director, but this one is use of force investigations, a manual for law enforcement about how to conduct an investigation on a police shooting. And one of the things it says is that do not allow external influences to rush the investigation. And that appears to me exactly what is kind of happening right now. And you want them to do a good, thorough job and not feel pressured to finish because of, community activists or, whomever, government officials leaning on them. You sure don't want that to happen.
Well, I, for one, appreciate all that y'all do for us.
Well, Cecil, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Cecil.
I'll see you.
Yeah, take care.
All right, appreciate you calling in.
Good guy there.
So, Judge, we talked earlier about the different things that that we had tonight. We had discussed. One of the interesting things that I ran across today, as a matter of fact, of course, we know that guns right now are flying off the shelf, and the sales are higher than at any time that they've been in the past, just about. And one of the things I ran across today was that our president, Barack Obama, has a tremendous amount of stock in Smith & Wesson.
You got to be kidding.
No, I was absolutely shocked.
We always joke he's the best gun salesman there is.
Well, apparently he put his money on that.
That's almost like an insider trading crime because anything he says can affect the price of that stock.
Yeah, and I'll read you the article here real quick. His net worth is $12.2 million, according to this.
And that's incredible to me also.
According to this article, President Obama is so passionate about gun violence that he cried during the announcement of executive action related to gun control. Of course, this article outlines his investments in gun manufacturers and ammunition companies. And I was just like completely blown away. And part of his, and not only his pension plan, but the Illinois General Assembly pension plan. So it's not just him; it's all the Illinois General Assembly's pension plan, who we both know that those guys are for the most part are very anti-gun.
What it tells us again, hypocrites.
Yeah,
most progressives are hypocrites, and there you go again.
Yet one of his stocks are valued at $1.2 billion, which is Smith & Wesson, and all the related companies.
Yeah.
So, wow, I was just blown away when I read that.
One thing I might want to mention, too, we've talked about you and I have the right to defend ourselves or a third party and use deadly force, up to deadly force, if we are threatened with the use of deadly force, imminent use of deadly force. Here's the law on police officers, 13A-3-27, and that is starting with B. A peace officer is justified in using deadly physical force upon another person when and to the extent that he reasonably believes it is necessary in order, 1, to make an arrest for a felony or to prevent the escape from custody of a person arrested for a felony, unless the police officer knows that the arrest is unauthorized, or 2, to defend himself or a third party from what he reasonably believes to be the use of deadly physical force against him or a third party. So he's got that extra one in order to make an arrest for a felony. And the narrative seems to be, we don't, of course, know what it is, that Michael Moore was in a stolen car when he was pulled over, and when he was arrested. The officer knew he was in a stolen car. That's why he was arresting him. He called in, and being in a stolen Lexus is receiving stolen property 1, which is a Class B felony.
And it's good that you can clear that up.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be that you're in imminent fear of someone using deadly physical force. It can be arresting someone for a felony. And a police officer normally has to either see somebody commit the felony or have I think it's reasonable belief, reasonable belief somebody's committed the felony. When you take someone out of a stolen car, you can't charge them with stealing it, but they were possessing the stolen car, and that's receiving stolen property.
All right, we have a text, Judge, and this question is probably going to be for you. What are Alabama laws regarding .22 rifles with internally suppressed barrels?
You're going to help me on this one. What is an internally suppressed barrel?
So I think with that is the actual suppressor is in the barrel, and not maybe necessarily a screw-on suppressor.
Well, I can be easy on that. Alabama doesn't have a law. We always follow the federal law.
Federal law, yeah.
Now, I don't know what the federal law is. I presume it is like the others that you have to, under the National Firearms Act, it has to be registered, or you have to get the stamp and all.
Tax stamp, yes.
Yeah, but I don't know that, and I will check on that for next week and let you know. But that's kind of a new one on me.
Well, it seems to be because with the rifle did not come with the internally suppressed barrel from wherever it was purchased from. It was aftermarket added. So is it the same as adding the suppressor?
I would think so, but I can't imagine that it wouldn't be.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I don't think there's an exception for 22s. But I'll double check that for you. Don't use it until we find out. But these shootings, etc., are so volatile. And we know I was up in Missouri recently near Ferguson and saw that kind of stuff. And speaking of that, I also checked out some of the stuff at McCoy's. And, in addition to McCoy Outdoor Company is one of our sponsors, and their website is McCoyoutdoorCoCompany.com. Facebook, go like their Facebook, McCoy Outdoor Company. Adam, they've got dog carriers, everything you need for dog training, electronic ear protection that I use. You've even got crossbows there made by Striker Solutions. You got Danner boots, which are good boots if you're tactical shooters. Mace pepper spray gun, which we recommend. They're still out of, though, the phase plasma rifles in the 40-watt range. Still out of those.
Well, we just went to East Tennessee, North Carolina area in the Smoky Mountains, and right now, I think it's probably more than I've ever heard of is the bear activity. So we definitely needed the
phase plasma rifle.
Well, I don't know about that, but we definitely needed the pepper spray in the gun that you often cite as a really good alternative to carrying a firearm.
It's just part of that continuum of force. But as far as I know, McCoy's is the only one that has it in Mobile. And they are at 3498 Spring Hill Avenue, and they're open 9 to 6 every day, except Saturday is 9 to 5, closed on Sunday, 251-473-1080. Go by and see them for any of your needs. And, of course, they got plenty of firearms. If you buy a pistol or a carbine from them, you get 15% off one of our courses. Not a lot, but it's pretty decent. So McCoy Outdoor Company down on Spring Hill Avenue in the old K&B Shopping Center.
Judge, we just got a question, and we talked earlier about due process. The question is what about the no-fly list issue? That's kind of become kind of a hot term, a hot topic. With a no-fly list, not being able to own a firearm if you find yourself on one of these lists?
Well, first of all, we may have someone who's on one of the lists because he's a gun owner, just like we figured. But they have to give you more due process if they're going to revoke your license than they do on the no-fly list.
You're talking about a car license?
Yeah, driver's license. It's normally you have to have notice of what the state's going to do. You have to be invited to a hearing. You have a lawyer with you, question witnesses, ultimately have an appeal. They just put you on this no-fly list. You have no notice, and traveling, even by air, has been recognized as a constitutional right in Kent versus Dulles in 1958. Well, go ahead.
We'll be right with more on Armed Alabama.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at REMAX Partners 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Survival kit contents check. In them you'll find 145 caliber automatic, 2 boxes of ammunition, 4 days concentrated emergency rations, 1 drug issue containing antibiotics, morphine, vitamin pills, pep pills, sleeping pills, tranquilizer pills, 1 miniature combination Russian phrase book and Bible, $100 in rubles, $100 in gold, 9 packs of chewing gum, 1 issue of prophylactics, 3 lipsticks, 3 pair of nylon stockings. Shoot, a fella could have
pretty good time in Vegas with all that stuff. That's how it ends.
I think, wasn't it supposed to be a pretty good time at the Democrat convention?
Well,
and it was changed?
I think you need a little more than that, like antibiotics and some of the HIV medication if you went up there.
So before we went to the break, we were discussing a question that was presented was, what about the no-fly list? How does that impact your ability to own a firearm? The hot topic right now is should your right to own a firearm be revoked if you find yourself on one of these lists, and if you are on the list, how can you get yourself off the list?
Well, first of all, as I said, that traveling, even by air, is a right, and that's the 9th Amendment, an unenumerated constitutional right.
By automotive travel or by air travel?
Either one, and I'll get you some of the quotes in a second. And then second, you how to get on or off this. A congressman from California, who I'll think of his name in a minute, spent 2 years attempting to get off the list, finally did. Now, he had the power of Congress behind him, and it took him 2 years to do that. Now, imagine what it would take one of us to get off the list. I mean, and we don't even know how one gets on the list. I understand people who own, too many guns, too much ammunition, I'm sure have beliefs that are not in tune with the current administration can get on the list. But that is incredible, considering what he's done with the IRS to target people and various other, I think, frankly, crimes. I wouldn't trust anything to do with his no-fly list. And there are actually 2 lists, a terrorist watch list and a no-fly list, and they kind of overlap. So, that's just where we're going with that. It needs to be abolished. We had 3 bad times in this country. We had 1800 or 1799, the Alien and Sedition Acts. Then we, of course, have had the War of Northern Aggression, what Lincoln did with the total suspension of habeas corpus, closing of newspapers, etc. And then we also had the Espionage and Sedition Act by Woodrow Wilson during World War I. And you can really add the Patriot Act to that, where people's rights just were trashed. And this is one that's a little more insidious because you don't even know what's happening. I mean, you just all of a sudden you can't get on the airplane. You're just barred from traveling. And as this case points out, and it's never been overturned, that people may have to travel for their jobs. They may have to travel for all kind of reasons. And let's see, here we go. To repeat, let's make sure I got the right one. By the way, that's an old English right that we inherited from them, that you have the right to walk up and down the highways and byways, and no one has a right to bar you. Here we go. As we have seen, the right to travel is a personal right included within the word liberty, as used within the Fifth Amendment. That is liberty. If that liberty is to be regulated, it must be done pursuant to the lawmaking functions of Congress. And if that power is delegated, the standards must be adequate to pass scrutiny by the acceptable test. Where activities of enjoyment, natural, and often necessary for the well-being of an American citizen, such as travel, are involved, we will construe it narrowly as delegated powers that curtail or dilute them. We hesitate to find that this broad, generalized power of an authority to trench so heavily on the rights of citizens. Thus, we do not reach the question of constitutionality. We can only conclude that Section 1185 and 211 do not regulate or allow the Secretary of State, in this case, the kind of authority that we've seen exercised here. It's a real good opinion because it goes through some of the history of the right to travel. It also goes through the Japanese exclusion cases where they were locked up, which is really sad when you read those cases. One justice, I think only was the one that dissented, and he wrote this opinion basically and said, and this is outrageous, and there's no right to do it. And I can imagine how heated the exchange was.
What case was that, Judge? So our listeners can go and check it out.
Korematsu, Korematsu versus United States. Korematsu, and for anybody who wants to look it up, it's 321 U.S. 214. And that was dealing with the Japanese, internment during World War II. That was held to be constitutional, as was the Alien and Sedition Acts under President John Adams. That's why I've never been a John Adams fan. That law said that if I call John Adams a big fat pig, I could be prosecuted criminally and put in jail. And they did do that. By the way, it didn't apply to the vice president, Thomas Jefferson. When Jefferson became president, he pardoned everybody who had been convicted under the act, returned their fines with interest. Now, that's a man of character, as opposed to one who is so concerned about criticism. I mean, the very people who wrote the Constitution voted for an act that shut down free speech. That is amazing that happened. But it was happening during World War I also with people, the Schnick case, which I won't be able to find for you in time. He had handbills printed that said, call or write your congressman and ask that the Conscription or Draft Act be repealed. and he was prosecuted and given 7 years in a federal penitentiary for that. President Warren Harding commuted his sentence when he became president. And, of course, Harding is regarded as one of the worst presidents in the world. I think the very fact that he commuted their sentences ought to make him number one. I mean, it's easy to praise somebody like Woodrow Wilson, but when you see how he violated the Constitution, jailed people for speech, no. That's the famous case where Oliver Wendell Holmes said about shouting fire in a theater, not crowded theater. That was one of the cases, I think that was the Schnick or the Dibbs case, that involved that law. I'll get off my high horse. You can get back to...
No, we're sitting here listening and learning.
Well, it's amazing how quickly sometimes we shrink back into times of tyranny when things get kind of tough, and we don't have to.
All right, Judge, thank you. We want to take this opportunity to thank all our advertisers and sponsors. If you get a chance, please patron our advertisers and sponsors, and they are David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, Mamoon Siddiq at REMAX Realtors, and, of course, McCoy Outdoors. If you would like to advertise your business on Armed Alabama, please contact us or the station. You can email us, adam@armedalabama.com, and, of course, the judge at armedalabama.com. Judge, any parting words?
Well, 2 hours next week. Listen, get your questions ready on the law, the Constitution, and guns. And one thing I want to report on, if you've gotten a new gun lately, I want to report on it.
Absolutely. Remember, next week, 2 hours, we're starting at 6 p.m. and we're going to 8 p.m. We're very excited, and we hope you're excited too. Until next time, this is Armed Alabama.
No drinking and listening next week.
Guns right out of my hands when it comes to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when they signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up and fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll